Hello everyone and welcome to Bookmakers TV YouTube channel. I am Gav from the LFC Day Trippers. That is Liam Canning, the Manchester United fan who's really happy. And that is Jamie from Daily Hotspur who's not as happy. But look, that's all because of last weekend's Premier League games, and we're going to get on to them in a second. We're also going to have a look at West Ham, Everton, City, Spurs, Arsenal, Manchester United, and Liverpool v Chelsea in this latest preview. Make sure that if you're watching, you hit the like button and also subscribe to the channel and check out Liam's Twitter accounts and Jamie's Twitter accounts, and they will be in the show description. Check out the LFC Day Trippers as well. That'll be in the description. It'll be all there. We're going to start though with last weekend, and I want to touch on two games because obviously United fan and a Spurs fan, varying results of the weekend. But Liam, I'm going to come to you first. Manchester derby, United come away with the 2-1 victory. Some controversy in it around the first goal for Bruno Fernandes. Personally, I thought it was a scrappy first half. United really well drilled, dropped back a little bit in the second half, and City get that goal, but then came out and played, and just about, I think, deserved the win, despite the controversy. But I'll leave it with you. What do you think?
Well, first of all, what controversy? It was a perfectly legitimate goal.
Okay.
Judging by the rules and PGMOL's statement, perfectly legitimate. No, in all seriousness, it probably should have been chalked off. You can't. It's so contentious that obviously Rashford hasn't touched it, but he's going towards the ball. Kanji's tracking him completely. He leaves it last minute, and then Bruno slots it away. So, as a United fan, of course, I loved it. Of course, I did. But as a neutral, you've got to think that's really, really unlucky for City and their defenders. But I totally agree with you. First half, I thought United were probably the most drilled I've seen them in many a year. It was really, really organised. It was efficient. I thought Fred had the game of his life for Manchester United. He was absolutely tracking De Bruyne everywhere he went. It was similar to a few years ago where Ander Herrera sort of tracked Eden Hazard in that game at Stamford Bridge, where he just followed him all around the pitch. And that's what Fred did. It's similar to Ji-sung Park, a decade ago or so. And I thought he did that absolutely brilliant for 90 minutes. As you say, into the second half, first 20 minutes, I thought United just dropped off too much. They gave probably too much respect, probably a little bit leggy, and just backed off a little bit too much. City grew into the game. They dominated those 20 minutes. De Bruyne got more on the ball. You could see him coming out into the wider spaces, getting away from Fred a little bit at times. And then he goes past Casemiro, puts in a lovely ball, and Grealish scores. And you think at that point, perhaps City will run away with it now, just because that's the tale of that story for those two teams over the last couple of years. You think once City get 1, 2, 3, 4 are going to follow. Now, that wasn't the case, and United did incredibly well to sort of reset, rebalance the system, and go again. And obviously, you need big moments in those games, in those derbies. And yes, you need luck on your side, and that's what that first goal was. It was complete luck in terms of it being given. It was a great goal, but it was luck in terms of it being given. But after that goal went in, obviously the stadium erupted. Noise was going absolutely berserk. Fans were proper up for it. And United were just on top, I thought, until the end of the game, really. They obviously had a second goal. They could have had a third, I thought. And City really had no answer. Yes, they had bits of possession in our half, in our box as well, but I didn't think actually they threatened too much. And there's a huge story around, are City better with or without Haaland? I won't touch on that now, but I did think Haaland played incredibly poor. In terms of the overall game, he barely had a touch, and same for Foden.
Yeah.
Whereas the reverse fixture earlier in the season, both hat tricks. So it's a completely different story. But overall, a huge 3 points. Another one where Ten Hag has adjusted things in the game itself, and it's paid off for him. And those wins, those type of games, those type of wins, those 3 points are building something special inside that dressing room. Now, I'm not going to say title or title race at this stage in time, but you can see the camaraderie between the players, and the fans completely behind the manager and completely behind the players.
Yeah, and we spoke last time about United having to push City into the middle of the park. That's what I thought was huge, because if you let them go wide, that's where De Bruyne loves to do damage, and that's where Haaland comes into the game. And the same on the other side, where Foden, if you let him get out wide, and he's not going to tear past you like a winger, but he's going to manipulate you in a massive way if you let him out wide. And I thought United were brilliant at that. They weren't at the Etihad, their two wide men just didn't work, but on Saturday, wasn't it? I thought their wide men were well drilled, and it was City just kept having to come in. And once you put City in my opinion, into the middle of the park, you shut Haaland out for the vast majority. Because he's not going to look for angles, and he's not going to look for feet. He just wants balls from wide in the box, and he'll score, or cutbacks from the byline, and that's where City get their goal. But yeah, I thought United were. I genuinely thought United were really good at what they done in the first half. Second half, maybe probably trying to lull City in, and it didn't work because City went okay, we'll score. But beyond that, I think you're right. I think City don't react. I don't think City react very well to adversity at times. And that goal, the first one, seemed to really knock them. Yeah. And I could only see one winner then, regardless of how much City had the ball. So it was a really good win for United. It's another 3 points. And there's another massive game coming up for them, because you're talking about not being in a title race. There's one coming up at the weekend, and if you win that, you're most certainly in one, for me.
Well, I think that's my opinion. We've got Palace tomorrow evening. You get through that and potentially beat Arsenal, then I think it's within 5 points or so. You are in a title race. By definition, you are in a title race. Yeah. I don't think United will win the title, but you're certainly up there for the challenge of it.
Yeah, 100%. Jamie, the North London derby. I thought Arsenal were very good value for that win. I thought Spurs were much improved in the second half. But their goalkeeper does them no favours. Maybe the first, and definitely the first, maybe the second. But Spurs showed a bit of fight in the second half. But I don't even think Arsenal had to be anywhere near their best to win that game. And
no.
I don't tell me, shoot me down if I'm wrong. But it's not a great result for Spurs. It's a really good result for Arsenal. And overall, no complaints.
No, not at all. I mean, look, it was kind of a disastrous weekend in terms of the results. I mean, obviously, we desperately don't want to see Arsenal going to win the league. Obviously, Manchester City losing, Man United gaining more ground in obviously the race for the top four. We lose, Arsenal win as well. So it's an incredibly difficult weekend. But look, listening to Liam and the way he's speaking at Manchester United and kind of everything that Erik ten Hag's building, I'm incredibly jealous of that, because at my club, Spurs, it's completely the opposite at the moment. It's, there's a lot of uncertainty about where the team's going, whether Antonio Conte is going to stay. And, we just don't seem to be kind of any direction at the moment. And we just kind of seem to be just going through the motions. And that's something that's really difficult at the moment. Obviously, there are still bigger problems in terms of the hierarchy at the club. And, in terms of what, whether they're backing Antonio Conte. So that's obviously very difficult, but obviously on the pitch there are very much issues there as well. Another really poor first half, and Spurs can't continue to do this. It's just become, it was funny at one point that Spurs were coming back from these first half performances, but now it's just it's not happening. We're not able to come back. We're giving ourselves too much to do in those second halves, and yes, we were much improved in that second half, but I still felt as though we just weren't clinical enough. I think in the first half, Arsenal very much were clinical. Obviously, they did have the moment, a bit of help from Hugo Lloris chucking it into his own net, which was a very difficult moment. But yeah, it's just kind of, again, it was really just a stark contrast between the two clubs in terms of the quality on the pitch and how the two clubs are run. And, again, I think it's very similar. Man United and Arsenal have been very similar in terms of gone out and backed their manager. They've both bought into the vision of their manager. They're building towards something. And I said it's the same case for Arsenal. It's taken them a while, and everyone kind of laughed at them when they said trust the process under Arteta, but they've done that, and they're kind of reaping the benefits of that. Spurs, again, it just feels like what you're going to get when you bring in Antonio Conte. You've got to give him win now players, and Spurs gave him Jed Spence. They gave him players that are kind of for the future, and there kind of seems to be a bit of a dispute at the moment between the club and Antonio Conte, and that's really leaving for no direction. So yeah, the match was obviously very difficult to take and, really difficult to defeat. But that, unfortunately, there are bigger problems at Spurs at the moment than just kind of poor performances. Because, there seems to be a bit of a fallout between the manager and the hierarchy.
Yeah, I've seen reports today that Conte wants an improved deal. And I was kind of going, improve for what? Yeah. But, mad money as well. And I'm like, Spurs surely don't do that. But on the game itself, I thought Spurs were okay in midfield. I thought they were okay at the back. I thought our wing backs were poor, and Sessegnon gets 3 opportunities in, I would say, the first 12 minutes of the game where he's released down the left hand side. He's clear of Ben White. He has targets in the middle, and he hits the front man every single time. And it just killed Spurs, because it looked like Spurs needed the first goal in that game.
Yeah,
And then started the second half. I was sitting there at half time thinking, Spurs are notorious for coming out and getting a goal against you in the first 10 minutes second half. They do it against Liverpool all the time. They've probably only done it once, but I feel like they do it all the time to Liverpool. But Arsenal, I think, handled it well. One more question though on this, and it's the incident at the end with Ramsdale, because you can't go the weekend without talking about it. Ramsdale doesn't cover himself in glory. I'm going to say that. Richarlison, I don't know why he's there doing that. The stewards are terrible. And then this guy just decides to come right over the top of the barrier and kick him in the back.
Yeah.
Has he been identified? Because there's no place for that. Like, as much as it's a game of football and you don't like each other, you can't be swinging kicks at goalkeepers after games.
Yes, that was obviously mental and obviously disgusting to kind of see that. I know someone has been arrested for it, and he made himself very much clear. You know, I think he was kind of all over Twitter. So yeah, I think it was always going to happen. But look, you know, people like that, I mean, it's just, you know, obviously just brain dead. But yeah, it was, I think from Ramsdale, look, that happens in these big derby matches, and you just can't cross those lines of coming onto the pitch. So, you know, as much as Ramsdale was giving it to the fans, you know, we see this all the time in football, and you know, there's been plenty of occasions where Spurs have gone to the Emirates, and you know, Dele Alli's given it to the Arsenal fans, Dyer's given it to the Arsenal fans, but you just can't cross that line. It was really, really bad incident, and I'm obviously sure he'll get a lifetime ban. But yeah, the way things are going, I wouldn't mind getting a ban myself, because some of the football at the moment,
a little 6-month ban. Nice.
Yeah, I could take a 6-month ban. I mean,
maybe you should ring Spurs and say, listen, how do I get a 6-month ban, and then carry it out with the next home game?
I'm considering handing myself in, but it's been very difficult.
You should have taken the rap for the other guy on the you know, on the agreement that you're only getting 6 months. But look, it was a massive weekend of football in both those cities last weekend, and it just keeps coming. But I want to start this weekend with the first game we're going to cover, and it's West Ham v Everton, because these two featured last week in our 4 games we're talking about. Everton at home to Southampton, West Ham away to Wolves, and both were beaten, and they're both in trouble. Forest have picked up some points. Southampton, that's a huge win against Everton. But I wanted to touch on this one because this last week felt like a couple of 6-pointers. But Liam, I'll come to you. You know, Moyes seems to be still getting some good press there at West Ham. I've seen, you know, he's been on podcasts and stuff like that. Now maybe they're going back a few months, but he's only kind of come into my field of vision in the last couple of days. Whereas Everton, it's all over the place. You know, they had to upgrade the Southampton game to a Category A game. They told their board members not to attend the game. One of their board members supposedly was grabbed in a headlock by a fan. You know, it's all going on. Like, but they're in real trouble both of this. And this, I feel this is probably not the last chance for both of this to get out of trouble, but one of them has to break a rot here, because the longer it goes on, just the harder it is to get out of it. No matter, West Ham have a good squad. Everton, I don't think they have, but you know, whoever wins this one will be looking, going, geez, thank God for that, because once you're down there, it's so hard to get out of.
Totally agree with that. I view these two teams as very similar in the sense of both on the same points. Form is 4 defeats, 1 draw in their last 5 Premier League appearances. I think West Ham have scored 1 more goal and Everton have conceded 1 less. So, in terms of goals against, points, how they crumble under pressure when the crowd goes against them, everything sort of just points in the same direction as the other club. So I totally agree that eventually one of these teams are going to have to crack. With it being at the London Stadium, I mean, the atmosphere at the London Stadium, I don't know if you guys have been, but it is poor. Yeah. Like, it's just completely
good silent. Last season, though. Because there was a marked difference, and people were going on about it last season, weren't they? Oh, the massive difference West Ham, because West Ham are playing well, but it does seem a bit toxic when it doesn't go well.
Definitely. Well, it's toxic at Goodison Park. You saw the scenes with Yerry Mina and Anthony Gordon outside the ground when they were trying to get home. It's toxic at London Stadium. You think West Ham's squad, I mean, it's just, I find it remarkable that they are so far down, given that squad. You've got Lucas Paqueta and Declan Rice, 2 international players of the highest level with Brazil and England in that midfield, and they're just getting overrun game after game after game. And I just feel like the news around West Ham and Everton especially is just so toxic, so negative. It can't have a good impact on the players themselves. And now I'm seeing last week that, you know, Declan Rice is linked with Arsenal, and Arsenal are talking about Declan Rice. All these things are sort of building up into eventually it's going to explode. And perhaps it's not even come yet for either of these teams. As much as that, as bad as that sounds, perhaps there's still another catalyst to come over something that's going to happen, and it's all just going to go downhill for them. And this game might just be it for one of those teams. Or my prediction perhaps will be a 0-0 and none of them can score.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
I think it's you know, Paqueta is in there with Rice, and like you said, they are being overrun. I think it might have been Arsenal I was watching them against, and I was like, what's going on here? You know, Arsenal were just flooding through the middle of West Ham. And, you know, Rice and Souček there for the last couple of seasons were always solid. They tracked runners. They didn't give a lot of space. You know, usually the way you get a West Ham would be around the sides, but they are being ran through. And, you know, Everton have recently gone to City and got a point by playing 5 at the back and being really, really solid. But the problem for there is that I think they do 5 at the back against Southampton and they get beaten. So the whole idea of when we play 5 at the back, we're okay, is kind of being blown out of the water for
West Ham
Everton.
can't score. You know, West Ham just have no forwards that are in form. Jared Bowen's off it. Mikel Antonio's off it. Scamacca's come in and can't really get involved as much as he, possibly needs to be. So they just don't seem to have, that player that can drag them through toxic times or difficult times as it is now. Same for Everton. You can say the same for Everton, to be fair.
Jamie, on this one, it's a real scrap down there. You know, the chances are other clubs down there might pick up points at the weekend because that's the way it's going. So, somebody at the bottom of the table is picking up points somewhere every week nearly. What do you make of this one? I'll let and give us your prediction at the end, and I'll go back to Liam for his.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of just looking at the table now, and it's a real worry for both teams because you look at some of the teams that are in the fight at the moment. They're teams that maybe are picking up points, and you can see, kind of where they're going at the moment. Nottingham Forest, Leeds, Leicester, Wolves, Bournemouth, and then of course Southampton are even picking up at the moment. So, West Ham and Everton, they're kind of in free fall at the moment. For me, for West Ham, I think the issue might be with David Moyes. I think last season would have taken a lot out of them, and maybe kind of that message now is kind of getting lost with the players. Because I think you look at, we mentioned there, I think the quality of that West Ham squad, they should be achieving far better than what they're doing. It's quite incredible to see that they are in this relegation fight. I mean, last year, they were pushing for Europe. Of course, as well, they were going very hard in the Europa League. So I think it's just a case of maybe it's come to the end of the road for David Moyes, and it does need maybe a new voice in there. Because I say that it's just amazing to see this West Ham squad struggling. For Everton, unfortunately, I think it's just a case of a real lack of quality. I mentioned on the last show, I think their defence is maybe what might save them. We saw that at the start of the season where they got some good results because they were starting to build something at the back, but that's completely gone now. And, they're shipping so many goals. They've lost that because they cannot rely on that attack because there is no one in that attack that is going to score goals. Calvert-Lewin, obviously had that one fantastic season, but he's gone completely off the boil. Anthony Gordon has just been truly shocking. And then you really kind of lost for ideas in where they're going to get those goals. So for me, I think it's a case for Everton where it's just a lack of quality. And for West Ham, I think that there's a strong squad there, but I think it's probably come to the end of the road for David Moyes, and maybe it does need a new voice in that dressing room.
Okay, give us a score prediction.
Oh, yeah, it's really tricky. I'm gonna go for a 1-0 West Ham win. I think West Ham will just edge this. I think being at the London Stadium, I think they do. I do think they just have slightly more quality than Everton at the moment. Everton as well. I mean, they're just such poor form, and you just cannot back them at all at the moment. And yeah, this would be a disastrous result to lose this, and I think they will, unfortunately, 1-0.
Okay, Liam.
0-0, 2 shots on target all game.
Wait, we're not watching that game then. I'm going to go 2-1 West Ham.
Where are they getting the goals from?
I don't know. Everton will probably kick it in the net for them a few times. It could be that, but I'm just going to go West Ham 2-1. So I better take a note of this because I do have to bring a scoreboard up after week 3, don't I? So Liam has gone 0-0. Jamie has gone 1-0. I have gone 2-1.
It's shocking. I mean, looking at the goals, they're both on 15, which makes them the second lowest scorers in the league. Which again, it's just for those two clubs, it's just unbelievable to think that, and that just shows you totally their issues. 15 goals in 19 games.
Yeah. Usually what you see is you'll see a team down there that are scoring a decent amount, but conceding way too many, or
Like
conceding none but scoring. But it's like they're not scoring many and they're conceding quite a bit as well. What I'm going to do is the next two games feature your club. So I'm going to let Jamie speak on City versus Spurs, and then I'm going to get Liam to talk to me about Arsenal versus Manchester United. I'll have a little chat around Liverpool, Chelsea. We'll give predictions to them all, and then we'll get out of here. So City v Spurs. When you lose a North London derby, you know the next game you probably don't want is away to Manchester City. But Jamie, talk to me about this, because is it the perfect game after the North London derby where you're not expected maybe to get anything out of it, and you have a decent record at the Etihad?
We do. I mean, it's been really strange. I think the last 6, we've only lost 2 of them. Of course, last season, I think Man City lost 3 games all season, and twice were to us. So again, it was a weird one, because under Conte last year, we lost to Burnley. We went away and lost at Burnley. Felt almost like the end of the world. It felt like Conte was, absolutely gone at that point. But he went to the Etihad and kind of masterminded a 3-2 win. So I don't see it on this occasion. I think that Spurs are just simply not playing quite well enough. What might be a big factor in this one is that we've got Rodrigo Bentancur back. He's been a big miss since the World Cup. I mean, for me, he's actually been, and a lot of Spurs fans, I think he has been our best player this season. We saw it at the World Cup. He was really impressive there. He's really contributed a lot in terms of goals, in terms of the midfield as well, and just being that presence in the midfield. So having him back is going to be really key for this one. But I still feel as though Manchester City, they're going to have too much quality. I know obviously they did lose on the weekend to Man United, but I think, you can certainly forgive any team going away to Old Trafford at the moment and losing. But for this one, I still think that Man City have too much quality, unfortunately, for Spurs. I say we're finally getting that squad back. I think the only thing I can kind of give Conte lenience towards is that he has missed a lot of players through injuries. Romero's been out for a long period. Richarlison, Bentancur, Heung-min Son's been out for a long period of time as well, earlier in the season. So there has been some injury. Been very unfortunate. Obviously, the World Cup as well. Lots of players involved in that, more than any other Premier League team. I'm sounding like I'm making excuses, but I mean that's the only kind of caveat that I can kind of lean on at the moment. So we're starting to get the squad back, so maybe that might help. But still going away to the Etihad. I just think that maybe Man City coming off the back of that defeat as well, they know they cannot drop any more points here. I think they'll make the changes to kind of swing it back in their favour, and I think they will win this one.
I think when I look at this, and I said it to Liam last week, and I'll say it to you again, how you play City wide is massive. And what I did watch from Arsenal at the London Stadium the other day was they were constantly getting Martinelli and Saka on the ball, and they were constantly getting them on the ball where they were fronting up a defender one-on-one, and there was people running off them. And if you let City do that, they'll kill you, because there's nobody better in the league than them. They'll get you one-on-one, and next thing, Kyle Walker will be appearing somewhere, Mahrez will be appearing somewhere, De Bruyne will be arriving, and Haaland standing in there waiting. And I just don't know if Spurs can hold out with that. On the other hand, I think they have a better chance on the break against City than they had against Arsenal. Because Arsenal have, when you think about it, a really intelligent footballer in Zinchenko, because he plays multiple positions. You have 2 centre-backs that like defending, and you have a right-back that's a centre-back. So his natural thing to do is be in a really good covering position. I'm not too sure City are that good when you get them on the break. So that might be Spurs' way home, and it has been at the Etihad. I'm going to let you go last on the prediction, though. Liam, give me a prediction on this.
Well, I want Tottenham to win, but I think City will bounce back. They've got too much of a good squad not to, especially at Etihad. I'm going 3-0 City, unfortunately.
3-0. Okay. I've gone for 3-1 City. Jamie, what's yours?
Okay, I'm gonna give us another goal then. I'm gonna go for 3-2 to Manchester City.
3-2.
I think this will be a good game, and I think you're right. Actually, I do think that playing on the break. I thought Arsenal were really impressive actually in defence. I hate to give them credit, but they were brilliant. Unfortunately, they defended well when they needed to. I thought they were really intelligent in terms of just being so compact when when Spurs were hitting them on the break, just completely nullified us. Obviously Son as well. Son as well's been the issue for Spurs. He's so out of form at the moment, and I actually not sure whether he'll get that form back. It's just been so long since he's kind of been able to be at top form. So yeah, that's a big concern. But I think you're right. We maybe could get them on the break. I think City defensively this season have not been as strong as they once were. So yeah, I'm going to go and give us 2 goals here.
Okay, no worries.
Son has a good record against us. He's normally one of those players that
because he got you're right. He got obviously scored both legs of the Champions League when we played them in the quarterfinals. He scored both games last season as well. So yeah,
there's a game to do it.
Yeah, and I think like as much as you don't like, no one likes going away to Man City, but off the back of a defeat in a derby, it might be one where people go, Spurs were terrible last week. City will romp this, and then bang, you can go and get something.
I think the interesting factor is that we do have Bentancur back, and I know it's obviously just one player, but I think he maybe can make the difference. And just having that full squad back, might give us a little bit of confidence. But as I said, I'm not sure we're quite enough confidence to go and get the win, unfortunately.
No worries. Well, we wait and see, and we'll be back here next week to discuss it. Liam, over to Manchester United, who played the league leaders Arsenal at the Emirates.
Yep.
Sunday 4:30. Am I right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm asking that because the kickoffs to me are all over the place. Like it's so hard to keep up with them. They're on like literally all weekend. But I asked you last week, kind of tongue in cheek, when I was trying to put you in an awkward position, Liam, by saying, are you in a title race? But going into this one, Arsenal in really good form. They look solid defensively. They're good going forward. I don't think they're breathtaking going forward, but they're taking their chances and they're getting that. They are getting that little bit of luck. The Lloris team today is a little bit of luck, and that kind of the state Spurs are in at the moment. That breaks Spurs very early. But going into this one, I remember watching. I'm nearly sure it was Arsenal United at the back end of last season at the Emirates, and I think Arsenal win it quite handy. If I remember rightly, there's a penalty involved there at some stage, I think.
Yeah.
But this is a big test. Like you're talking about building on something, and Ten Hag, and I don't think United have been outstanding, but they're getting points, and that's where they weren't doing that last season. Just taking the title thing aside for the moment, how big a test is this for United against the league leaders and the best team in the country on form? And what will it say about them afterwards? And how do you think it will go?
Well, we're recording this Tuesday evening. United have got a game tomorrow night against Palace, first of all.
Yep.
I think there are variables ahead of that game on Sunday night against Arsenal because, one, Martial, is he injured, is he not? That's a big factor, potentially, if he's ruled out and Weghorst has to come in. Secondly, Casemiro and Fred are both on 4 yellow cards. If they get a yellow tomorrow night, they're out of the game against Arsenal. So it does depend tomorrow what happens in the future on Sunday in terms of the lineup and how we set up. Having said that, if we've got a full 11 as we did against City and Ten Hag sort of sticks to that team, then there are no caveats. There are no sort of excuses to be made. This is the biggest test of United's season. It's fair to say. I think similarly to the way that Fred tried to keep De Bruyne quiet, he will do a similar job on Odegaard, or will be tasked with doing a similar job on Odegaard, because you can see how Odegaard runs that midfield and attack all in the same breath. He's been absolutely fantastic this season. He's been scintillating in that transition for Arsenal, and he can just release Saka, he can release Martinelli, he can release Nketiah or Jesus, and they've just been ferocious. I think in attack in certain parts of certain games, but if Casemiro can keep on with his form and Rashford can keep with his form, then they've always got a chance. And I look back at the early game at Old Trafford, and again, Arsenal dominated that game, similarly to City. They dominated that game for large parts of it, but United got on the counter, they got the ball over the top, Eriksen fed into Rashford and Martial when he came on as well, and they punished them, and they left themselves open, Arsenal at the back. So I think that's the way to go forward. United fans are under no sort of disillusion that we're going to dominate games in Ten Hag's first 6 months against top opposition. We understand that this is a long-term process and that Ten Hag is building something, yes, but he also has limitations for his squad and the personnel that he has in the squad. So I think we will see a similar result in terms of Arsenal dominating the ball if United can remain as vigilant in defence and as organised in defence, but have runners in Rashford and Garnacho and Martial if he's fit through the middle and out wide, then I do believe that United will score and will hurt them. I really do, but it's so difficult to call. There's a lot of variables, as I said at the beginning of what I said there, but I I think my head is at, and perhaps I've got my United tinted glasses on, but I think United will win.
Oh,
And
okay.
I think it'll be close. I think it'll be a 2-1 United, and probably more controversy on its way. But
Okay.
if
Well, you're
United
just
do
scoring
well,
outside goals now. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, we're just going to keep scoring these. They're grand. Uh, so you've gone with 2-2, and for me, look, it's United's biggest test because the position they're in, the stage of the season, who they're playing against. But I think it might be Arsenal's as well. It was a huge test for Arsenal at home to Liverpool. I felt it's not they won the game, but I wasn't overly sure about them. I think Liverpool were, I think, the better side on the day. They should have a couple of decisions for me where, they probably have a penalty, and if VAR is working correctly, the forced Arsenal goal doesn't stand. It was one of those things. But having said that, Arsenal get through. At the end of the day, the result says 3-2. But I think it might be Arsenal's biggest test because I've seen teams go to the Emirates and gone a goal up, or held Arsenal for a long time and being really solid and and knowing their jobs. And Arsenal have struggled at times against that. And I think that's what they're going to come up against United. But United have, like you said, they've Rashford in form, Martial, who hasn't lit it up, but he's part of a winning team. Anthony, especially if it gets late and Arsenal are struggling, Anthony can hurt them on the break. But you see, Eriksen can see a pass, Casemiro can see a pass, Bruno Fernandes can get you a goal. There's loads there. And they've been there, the majority of them, bar Casemiro and Anthony. But they're players that have been there, but kind of being hampered by whether that's the management or just the players around them. And I think this might be Arsenal's biggest test as well. But you've gone 2-2.
No, 2-1.
Oh, 2-1. I've gone 2-2. Sorry, I've gone 2-2. You've gone 2-1 to Manchester United. Jamie, go on. You can go last.
That was interesting. I'm looking at a draw here. I think 2-2 is a nice shout. I will say though, Man United's defence I think has been excellent. I think the addition of Casemiro, as I mentioned last week, has just kind of really shored them up. Obviously having that extra line of defence. It has been really key for them. I think Varane, obviously, his experience has been fantastic. Luke Shaw as well. So defensively, I think United have been really strong. So I was thinking goals for this one, but actually, look at the two sides' defences. Obviously, Arsenal keeping a clean sheet at Tottenham as well. I'm gonna go for 1-1 here. I think both teams are capable of scoring. I think Rashford obviously scintillating at the moment. Arsenal obviously, Odegaard and Saka obviously playing fantastically well at the moment. Martinelli as well to add to that. So I think both teams are capable of scoring here. But yeah, I think what will be key is kind of that experience of Manchester United. I think Tottenham away should have been Arsenal's biggest test of the season. Unfortunately, we didn't show up and we didn't kind of add that test. But this one now really is, because I think Man United are going to be so difficult to beat for them. And obviously we've seen, I think you rightly pointed out there, when Arsenal have played at home and they've maybe had some tricky games, they've come up against teams that have kind of frustrated them, as I totally expect Man United to do with the experience they have. They've tended to struggle. So it's going to be a really, really interesting one. I'm really looking forward to this game. I'm really hoping that Manchester United come out with the 3 points. But yeah, I can see this one playing out as a draw. I think that both teams are going to cancel each other out. I think both teams strong defensively. They've also got goals as well. So that's just going to be such an interesting battle. I'm going to go for 1-1.
City against Spurs might have a massive bearing on how this game goes for me. Because the outlook of both sides when they get to Sunday, if Spurs and City were to draw, Arsenal could look and go, yeah, listen, we'll just take the point and get out of here. We've 8 points and it's another game gone. But we'll wait and see. Last game of the weekend that we're going to speak about is Liverpool versus Chelsea. It's 12:30 on Saturday at Anfield. And, they're two sides. Chelsea just seem to have found loads of money down the back of the couch and they're absolutely spending it before their mum comes along and says, listen, can I have my money back? Liverpool, I think they're in both similar runs. Liverpool have lost 2 of their last 3. Chelsea have only won 1 and 5, I think. That includes 2 defeats to City, 1 in the league, 1 in the cup. They were beaten by they drew a Forest and they were beaten away by Fulham. So they're not in great form. They've a lot of players. They seem to have a lot of players coming in and out, and that seemed to have stunted them a bit. I don't think they were great against Palace the weekend either. And Liverpool, for me, just have huge problems in midfield for me. You can throw a lot of defenders and stuff like that, but Liverpool's way was always, that midfield will stop you getting out and make you hit percentage passes a lot of the time, and our defence will sort that out. They've at time of recording they've just beaten Wolves to go through in the third round of the FA Cup and put a couple of youngsters in there. One of them gets the goal, and Harvey Elliott. But you see the likes of Ben Doe come on and looked. I'm not saying a completely different team, but a lot more energy, a lot more hunger, a lot more fight, and weren't being overrun in midfield. Now Wolves, a lot of the time, won't overrun you in midfield because of the players they have. They're more kind of technical footballers rather than absolute athletes. It's an interesting one. I'll give me prediction last. I just want something quick from both of you on where you think this might go, and then we get out of here. So, Jamie, I'll go with you first. Liverpool versus Chelsea.
Yeah, I'm going to go for another low-scoring one for this one because I think both teams, maybe attacking-wise, have kind of struggled over recent weeks. We certainly know that Chelsea have been really poor attacking-wise, and I just think, kind of given the form and the way that the two teams are playing at the moment, I just see this one kind of playing out as a draw, and maybe two teams cancelling each other out. I'm gonna go for 0-0 for this one. I just don't see where Chelsea's goals are coming from.
Aren't we, on a Saturday morning? Okay.
So yeah, I don't think it's going to be kind of the most enthralling of games. Obviously, it's a 12:30 kickoff as well, which might be a factor as well. But yeah, I think this is going to be a bit of a sluggish one between two teams struggling at the moment. So yeah, I'm going to go for 0-0.
No worries. Liam, Liverpool versus Chelsea.
I think both teams' defences are there to get at, if I'm honest. You saw that against Brighton. Matoma had Trent on toast. And I don't want to jump on the bandwagon of Trent for this season, but he just looked at sea for most of that game. And I think Chelsea's defence, similarly, is pretty worrisome, and midfield especially. So actually, I'm going to go the opposite and predict a lot of goals here. I think a draw, though. I think 2-2.
Okay.
Point, please.
2-2. I think from a Liverpool point of view, if Darwin Núñez is back, he makes a massive difference. But I think, judging by Klopp's comments during the week with regards to players and, the transfer stuff, he gets it asked every day or every week and kind of bats it away. But he said some interesting stuff with regards to he's loyal, but he's not too loyal. And, some players, maybe you've seen them be really good and maybe that's it for them. And you've seen sort of quotes where he may have lost a bit of patience with certain players, or not even patience, but probably looking going, I can't play him every week. It's just for our sake and the player's sake, I just can't do it. So I actually hope he goes in with a younger midfield. I hope if he wants to play Thiago, I'm fine. I will play Keita. He's played tonight and he's played the full game. I think he's played the full game and looked okay. And I will play the young lad Bajcetic because he has energy. He's a really good footballer. He doesn't look out of place. And not only does it give midfield a bit of energy and Thiago a bit of a bump, but it gives Henderson and Fabinho, for me, a rest maybe, but a little kind of dig to say, hold on, you didn't play well, these did, now they're playing, and why not throw them in? And I think it'll give the crowd a massive lift to see a midfield that's going to go in there and go, yeah, he's young. Keita, he could break down after half an hour. He's just not on the pitch enough for Liverpool. Talent-wise, I've no issue with him. He's just not on the pitch enough. And Thiago is what Thiago is. Like, if you get him playing football, he's majestic, 2-1 to Liverpool, because I'm not backing a draw. I'm not a 0-0, no way. But 2-1 to Liverpool. I think both defences are there together, but if Liverpool sort themselves and just work a little bit harder and have the ability to work a bit harder, I think they might just edge this, because I think the way Chelsea are trying to bring players into this team in January and mix them about, Liverpool might have a chance. Darwin Núñez being back, but I think if he's back, will be absolutely huge. So I'm going to go 2-1 Liverpool. So that completes our third show. I'm going to put all these predictions together now over the weekend and have a table for us to see who's winning. What did we say? 3 points for the right result, 5 points for the right scoreline. So I think there's been a couple of right scorelines, so it'll be interesting next week to see how we are. Liam, anything else before we go?
No, look forward to a good weekend full of goals apart from West Ham Everton.
Yeah, well, don't watch the West Ham Everton because Liam has just knows it's going to be the worst game of football you've ever seen. Jamie, anything else before we go?
Yeah, just really excited to have Spurs back again. Obviously, after an amazing weekend, nice little trip to the Etihad. Yeah, really excited for that one. No, but again, obviously, crazy to see kind of some of the games coming up as well. Liverpool, Chelsea. I think regardless of the two teams being out of form, that's a really interesting one. But yeah, I mean, Manchester United versus Arsenal is going to be a really, really good one. And I hope Manchester United do win, because I cannot see Arsenal win the league.
Okay, no problem. Well, Gary Neville says they won't, so the chances are They will.
Hopefully.
That has been Bookmakers TV, the Premier League preview show. Thanks to Jamie. Thanks to Liam. I've been Gav. We'll talk to you next week.